Well, motherhood is not always a tidy endeavor. Every situation, as we're seeing tonight, is complex. So we want to honor the complex work of the Society for the Protection and Care of Children, our beneficiary tonight. So we hope that you'll do what you can, make a further donation, and visit spcc-roch.org to help them with all the complex situations that are happening for mothers here in Rochester. Next, Laura Kline Taylor examines her own set of complications and an unconventional introduction to motherhood. Here she is with her story, Mother-Morphosis.
I can't be the first or only woman to have cracked a beer in response to a positive pregnancy test. However, it was not the response I always imagined I'd have to discovering I was blessed with child. I'd imagined myself becoming a mother all my life with goddess-like glee. I imagined sealing it with a kiss and maybe a photo of us holding a tiny chalkboard over my belly with the baby's due date. But instead, on May 11th, 2015, when that double line revealed itself, I was alone in my bathroom, felt more alone in my marriage than ever, and that fantasy became the first thing I would lose along my journey into motherhood. We'd been trying to get pregnant without much trying to get pregnant, if you know what I mean. We were career-driven, independent, adventurous, and into our 30s. We were not ready. We did not have time, but it was time. Add the shame and the judgment I wrapped myself in from 8 months of trying with no results. And to escape the tyranny of my own worst critic, I fell for a man who was not my husband. Ladies, not the way to do this. Thankfully, I never fell into bed with him, so the question of whose child I'd been blessed with never plagued me. But the positive test result on May 11th was only 10 days after I'd called it off with the other man and confessed to my husband. To call it a mess is an understatement. That story is long, and it's good. In the end, I kept my man, we kept our babe, and today I'm here to tell about the metamorphosis of a woman who stared motherhood in the face for the first time with a positive pregnancy test in one hand and a beer in the other, who faced the possibilities of divorce, abortion, and single motherhood all before the real mothering started, and through that initiation could face her real power and be a woman who would model that for her children and for mothers everywhere. Marking every great metamorphosis is a period of great emergence, where the fruits of hard work can be witnessed. What the transformation of motherhood often forgets to expose first, however, is the process of enclosure, the before story, the preparation and the process of going inward, the version that has nothing to do with nursery room decor or baby shower gifts, family leave logistics, or birthing classes. The process of enclosure for me was psycho-spiritual and emotional. What was I taking with me? And what was I willing to leave behind? Those questions were so confronting to me, I created a way to distract. And did I ever? Over the course of my pregnancy, I developed the arsenal of right responses to the typical questions. Good, I'm feeling good. Oh, about 27 weeks now. No, we don't know the gender. In my mind, the conversation was more like, how the am I going to get to this baby's birthday with some semblance of my life intact? But nobody talks about the mutations of the mind of a woman on the verge of motherhood. I didn't trust people would empathize with my infidelity the way they do with morning sickness or swollen ankles. Yes, my sister had that. It can be tough. It's normal. You'll get through it. We've got you. If I had any real physical ailments, they were overshadowed by the clouds of a scary and sad home life multiple therapy sessions a week, agony and shame for the mess I'd made, and this lasted through my entire pregnancy and my daughter's first years. When a mother and baby are healthy in pregnancy, people talk about the stuff you acquire in motherhood. It's like you go in and come out with a baby. See, I wasn't prepared for transformation. I got the message that when I got pregnant, what to expect was in a book I could buy or an expert I could hire or another mom's story. So I was expecting, but I wish that book had a chapter called "Who Are We Kidding?" Expect the unexpected. The intro would start, when you're ready to accept that control is an illusion and there is every possible answer and no answer at all to the questions you're actually going to have with your baby in arms, congratulations, you'll survive. The sections of the chapter would go on to tell about fear and courage, and that we needed both to survive motherhood. I would learn that motherhood is about discovering who I am when I don't know what to expect, when I didn't choose the circumstances around me, and when I'm brought to my knees. I remember the moment I chose to let go and fully surrender to whatever was going to come next. My husband and I had done a pros and cons list to keeping the baby. He'd threatened divorce. I had no idea how to proceed. And one day I was standing in line at a lunch trunk in New York City with a friend who never seems to get hooked by my drama no matter how hard I try. She always reminds me how magical and powerful I am. And when she said, "What are you going to do?" I heard myself say, "I'm just going to keep going." In that space where there was no room for BS, I chose to stop entertaining yes or no, stay or go, and let myself be in motion in the mess. That's metamorphosis, or maybe mess-amorphosis. With a heavy dose of faith heaped onto my how on earth, I allowed myself to transform. First, to fully dissolve into the mess that was my marriage and my sense of self. And in doing so, I also transformed my story that motherhood would be a losing game. Oh, I did lose some things, but they were things I no longer needed, and so I let them go. I had a ton of ideals about how marriage, pregnancy, and birth should go, and when we learned at a 40-week ultrasound that my daughter was breech, I released the vision of a perfect birth and prepared for a perfect C-section. I believed all men leave, and when mine didn't, I lost the victim story that I'd never have lasting love. I had used success to hide my imperfections, and when I learned that F-up and forgiveness could coexist in my story, I lost my constant strive to be perfect, and I got real. My mother-morphosis was rebellious, dramatic, and turbulent, but it led to my emergence as a mother with more courage, voice, compassion, grace, any of that than I may have acquired from simply reading about what to expect. So I discovered that my journey into motherhood wasn't about loss or sacrifice. And I wasn't destined to always be trading quality, time, energy, presence, and joy in one area for overwhelm, depletion, distraction, or absence in another. And I learned that motherhood is an endless game of giving up time, energy, control, and some looking good. But with each layer I shed, I become more. And on May 11th, 2018, exactly 3 years from that very first day, my second child, our son, was born. And with him, I emerged, a woman who owned her power and her ability to destroy what she no longer needed so as to be free to create more. And that's my stand for all of us who dare to call ourselves mothers, that we confront every how the moment with a heavy dose of faith and a who the knows. And we collect the tools to keep going when the stuff of life shows up. that we're least expecting, so we can metamorphose again and again through the life cycles of motherhood.